What if one of the most important discoveries in Japanese history wasn't a sword, a tomb, or a golden scroll, but a simple piece of wood? And what if that piece of wood, pulled from the mud of a long-lost capital, held a secret that's rewriting what we know about the birth of Japan as a nation? In September 2024, archaeologists made a stunning announcement about a 1,300-year-old wooden tablet, unearthed from the ruins of Japan's first great capital city. It's small, unassuming, and easily overlooked. But under infrared light, the faint ink characters on its surface revealed something staggering. They form a multiplication table. Now that sounds almost mundane, doesn't it? A times table, the kind of thing you'd find in any classroom. But this is the oldest one ever found in Japan. Its existence in this specific time and place forces us to ask a profound question. Why would an ancient government, in the middle of forging an empire, need a pocket calculator made of wood? The answer unlocks the story of how ancient Japan was truly built, not just with hammers and swords, but with numbers, ink, and a level of sophisticated bureaucracy that's simply astonishing. To get why this tablet is so important, we have to go back in time. We're heading to the Asuka period, a transformative era in Japanese history from the 6th to the early 8th century. This wasn't the Japan of samurai and shoguns many of us picture. This was a nation in the process of inventing itself. For centuries, power had been scattered among powerful regional clans. But a new, ambitious idea was taking hold at the imperial court, to create a centralized, modern state. And to do that, they looked to their powerful neighbor, Tang Dynasty China. Inspired by the grand, grid-planned cities of the continent, Japan's rulers embarked on their most audacious project yet. In the year 694, the court moved to a brand new, purpose-built city, Fujiwara-kyō. This was Japan's first planned capital. For the first time, a sprawling city was laid out on a precise grid, covering over 20 square kilometers. At its heart stood the Fujiwara Palace, a massive 1 square kilometer compound protected by towering 5-meter-high earthen walls. This was also the first palace in Japan to feature tile-roofed buildings, a revolutionary innovation requiring an estimated 2 million tiles brought in from across the country. Fujiwara-kyō was more than a city. It was a statement. It was the physical proof of a new political order, a system called Ritsuryo. This was a complex legal and administrative code, also modeled on Chinese systems, designed to centralize power under the emperor. The state nationalized land, restructured society, and started collecting taxes in the form of grain and cloth. But all this created a massive new problem. How do you manage it all? How do you organize the labor to build a palace with 2 million roof tiles? How do you calculate the taxes owed from thousands of farms across dozens of provinces? How do you pay the salaries of a growing army of government officials? You can't run an empire on guesswork. You need data. You need math. Now let's jump forward 1,300 years. The grand tiled roofs of Fujiwara Palace are long gone. The bustling city grid has vanished, replaced by the quiet fields of modern-day Kashihara in Nara Prefecture. But beneath the surface, the story of the lost capital waits. For decades, archaeologists from the Nara National Research Institute for Cultural Properties have been meticulously excavating this site, peeling back the layers of time. The artifact at the center of our story wasn't actually found in 2024. It was first unearthed way back in 2001, just one of thousands of similar wooden strips recovered from the site. It's a slender fragment, just 16 centimeters long and about a centimeter wide. At first, it didn't look like much. The ink was faded, the characters were irregular, and it was initially classified as a simple practice tablet, maybe an apprentice scribe doodling in his spare time. It was cataloged and placed in storage, one small piece of a gigantic historical puzzle. For over 20 years, it just sat there, waiting for its moment. It was only in 2024, with the help of advanced infrared imaging technology, that its true purpose came to light. As researchers pointed the light at the wood, Once invisible characters blazed into view. Faint strokes and smudges resolved into clear equations. 9 times 9 equals 81. 4 times 9 equals 36. 6 times 8 equals 48. This was no doodle. It was a highly organized chart. The team announced their stunning conclusion on September 4, 2024. This wasn't just a practice sheet, but a fragment of Japan's oldest known multiplication table, a tool used for official government work. So what exactly is this thing? It's a type of artifact known as a Mokkan. Think of Mokkan as the disposable paperwork of the ancient world. These thin wooden tablets were used for everything: tax records, official communications, labeling goods, and taking notes. They were the ancient equivalent of sticky notes and office memos, cheaper and more practical than expensive scrolls. This particular Mokkan was found in a part of the palace ruins believed to have been the office of the Emon-fu, the guards bureau. But their duties went beyond just security. They were also involved in administrative tasks. Finding a multiplication table in their office is the crucial link. This wasn't some scholarly text locked away in a library. It was a practical tool for everyday government work. The lead researcher, Kunya Kawata, said he was surprised at the tablet's sophisticated layout. The equations were organized in 5 neat rows, running from top to bottom, a format that closely mirrored multiplication tables used in China and Korea centuries earlier. He had thought early Japanese tables were much simpler. This discovery proved that officials in 7th century Japan were using a far more advanced and dense format than previously understood. If the tablet were complete, it would have been about 33 centimeters long, a perfect desktop reference guide for a busy administrator. This single piece of wood is solid proof of the Ritsuryo system in action. To make that system work, you needed a class of literate, numerate officials. The government even established a college to train future bureaucrats. And while being an aristocrat was still the surest path to power, a certain level of practical skill was becoming essential. This tablet is the surviving evidence of that training. It is, basically, a page from a government employee's handbook 300 years ago. So why does this matter? What's the real "so what" of a 1,300-year-old times table? The answer is that this small object completely changes our image of ancient statecraft. It reveals that behind the emperors, empresses, and courtly rituals, the engine of the early Japanese state was a machine of bureaucracy, and that machine ran on numbers. Imagine an official in the Emon-fu office. He might have used a table just like this for a dozen different tasks. He might have needed it to calculate the wages for palace guards or the number of work days required for a new construction project. He could have used it to cross-reference tax records, figuring out the amount of rice due from a distant province based on its land area and the official tax rate. He might have been calculating the allocation of resources, timber, tiles, food, for the massive population living within the palace walls. Every major act of governance, from building a capital to feeding an army, rests on a foundation of logistics, and logistics is math. This tablet is the smoking gun. It proves that the government of Fujiwara-kyō had the tools and the trained people to manage a complex, data-driven administration. It gives us a rare glimpse into the quiet, intellectual work that made the grand imperial project possible. It's evidence that Japan wasn't just importing Chinese architectural styles. It was importing and adapting the practical technologies of governance, the very mathematics of power. This find also raises fascinating new questions. Researchers have noted how similar the design is to Chinese tables from the much earlier Qin and Han dynasties. Was this a direct copy, or was it a Japanese adaptation of a continental standard? Some have even wondered if tables like this were used even earlier in Japan, maybe during the Kofun period, for calculating the complex dimensions of the great burial mounds. This tablet sits right at a crossroads of cultural exchange, a testament to Japan's active engagement with foreign knowledge. What makes this discovery so powerful is just how relatable it is. We think of archaeology as uncovering the exotic and the magnificent, but often, the most profound revelations come from the mundane. This tablet wasn't a ceremonial sword or a piece of royal jewelry. It was a tool, an object used by an ordinary official doing his job. And yet, it tells a story more compelling than many treasures. It tells us that the foundations of a state are built not only on grand visions, but on careful accounting. It's a story about the unsung administrators, the record keepers, and the clerks whose meticulous work turned the emperor's will into reality. This 2,300-year-old piece of wood is a direct link to one of those people. It's a humble reminder that history isn't just made by the people whose names we remember, but also by the countless anonymous figures who knew that 6 times 8 is 48. And it leaves us with a lingering thought. If a single overlooked strip of wood could hold such a revolutionary secret for 20 years, what other truths about the birth of Japan are still buried, just waiting for the right tools and the right questions to bring them to light? Discoveries like this, like the Mokkan multiplication table from Fujiwara-kyō, are rewriting our understanding of the past. If you want more evidence-first stories that show how early Japan was built with numbers as much as swords, make sure to subscribe.